everyone, this is Ron from High-Tech Legion, and this is part of our review of the Corsair H110 and Corsair H90 self-contained liquid cooling solutions. They essentially have the same mounting kit since they are from an Asetek design. So we will show you the steps here for an AMD mounting. First, you have to remove the built-in mounting kit for your AMD, the default backplate, if you have done so already on your AMD motherboard. So just take your screwdriver and just lift that off, since you have to use your own backplate provided by Asetek. Also, make sure you take out your AMD kit. You can easily tell the AMD mounting kit apart from the Intel mounting kit in the Asetek pack, because it is not a square design. This is a more rectangular backplate design with the matching bracket as well. And there are optional adhesive strips that you can attach if you're going to install it permanently in the back of your motherboard. This is more helpful. The adhesive is more for users who want to install it with the motherboard already installed in your case, so that it sticks there vertically, so you don't need to apply pressure or use one hand to install it. And first step, you're going to take these mounting studs. There's 4 of them. They're very easy to lose, so be careful not to misplace them, and just simply push them in. This is the side that faces the back of the motherboard. You can easily tell because there are these protrusions. The protrusions go directly to the back of your motherboard, and it should face like this. So just keep on pushing those push pins in there. Plus you can see the shape of the studs fit into the mold anyway. And once that is done, you just position it. Once again, if you're going to install it inside your case, you can use the optional adhesives, the 2-way adhesive strips provided. Of course, since they are adhesive, you can only use them once. There you go. Just position them. You can see that they are protruding. Now I will finish this step, but I have to show you how to put in the Intel backplate first, since mounting the bracket, whether it's an Intel or AMD, is essentially the same anyway. So we're going to skip now and move on to the Intel 1155, 1156 mounting system, and I'll show you how to install the backplate there, and then continue with the mounting of the bracket. When installing an Intel LGA115, LGA1366, or LGA775 motherboard, you'd need, of course, the Intel backplate and the same mounting studs, and of course the optional adhesive strips. And depending on the type of motherboard, for example, this is the LGA1155, you mount it to the corresponding area. There are actually markers, if you look closely there, that designate which hole is for which motherboard. So we're going with the LGA1155 or LGA1156, and push our studs in there, these mounting studs. You basically go in the same way with the protrusion going to the back of the motherboard directly, touching the back of the motherboard. And the LGA1156 hole is in here. It's essentially a square. There were some users who noted the last time that there were some issues depending on your motherboard with this backplate touching the back, some connectors at the back of your case. This is plastic though, so it's not non-conductive, so it's not really an issue, although some might be concerned with the compatibility. Let's see here. As you can see, there is no compatibility issue with this motherboard, but some might have a connector in the area right here, but it's just worth noting, so you better make sure that your motherboard does not have that issue. So place it like that. Make sure you pull it to the other side, and there you go. The next step now is, of course, to prepare our mounting ring. This is for the Intel one, and we will use, of course, our guides here. which also rotate depending on the type of socket you use. There are actually designators in there, and I will show you how to lock it into our next step. I'm going to actually remove this motherboard now and show you that. Installing the mounting mechanism for the thumb screws, essentially a two-piece design. This is what it should look like. Now, depending on your whether you're installing an Intel or AMD system, you will need both. So you take the skinny part, essentially a skinny part and a fat part. I just call it like that just for simplicity's sake. And you position the skinny part on top. It doesn't matter what position. And then you take the fat part and push it in. You can see there's two sort of prongs in there that will go into this area right here. There you go. And then from here you can rotate it depending on the type of motherboard. Of course, smaller motherboard, LGA1355, and then LGA2011 or LGA1366 will look like that. Actually, I made a mistake here since I mounted it backwards, I think. As you can see, this is the right part where you can see through it completely. Well, this is the wrong part where I did it backwards, and the other end is blocking it. So I need to take that apart. Let me show you how to take that apart. You'd probably need a tool of some sort. So you need to push in or even better, let me grab a tiny precision screwdriver here in case you made a mistake, and you just take the two sort of locking clips there. Just gently nudge it until it comes loose. Make sure not to force it since it is plastic and can get damaged. You have to make sure that it aligns like so. You can see it before you lock it in. You can see through the hole completely. It should look like that. So let's try that again. Let's take this skinny part, push it in, take the fat part, and make sure that it is aligned so that I can see through it like so, and then just lock it in place. You hear the click. Now it works. Now keep on doing that until you have all four. And let's see here. Oops. As you can see, there's plenty of parts here to use, so be mindful not to lose a part. There you go. And the next step is to show you how to install the ring. There's a new addition, of course, if you're familiar with the old mounting mechanism. This is a new addition to simplify the mounting of the main unit, the pump unit itself, onto the backplate or onto your motherboard, which I'm going to show you the Intel LGA2011, since it doesn't require a backplate, but essentially it will be the same, similar here to the LGA1155, since it has those threads there for the studs. The Intel LGA2011 has a built-in backplate that will use a different set of screws. See, these are the longer ones that go with the LGA1155 and AMD, while the shorter ones, shorter and stubby ones, are for the LGA2011. So let's grab my actually, I'm going to install it inside a case so I can demonstrate to you how to install the radiator as well. Alright, since we are dealing with two coolers, I figured I think it would be better if I show you how to mount the radiator first. This is the H110, and as you can see, it has spacing for a 20mm fan mounting. 20mm means there's a little bit of gap between the two 140mm fans, and that, of course, make sure to check compatibility with your case that it has 20mm spacings right on top. I have the latest version of the Asetek H10 Switch H10 case here, so I can actually do that. And as you can see, it fits right on top, although I have to mount the fan as an intake on top first. And in this particular case, you can actually mount the fan directly on top, separate from the radiator itself. Also, the screws provided for the H110 are basically just little long screws. So if you do want to mount it with an exhaust, you'd have to get small screws to mount the radiator into the case for yourself. We position our 40mm pair of fans there at the top. I'm not going to worry about cable management for now. And the other one, of course, it's completely up to you how you want to mount it. In this particular case, you can actually slide it forward. This is both compatible with the 20mm and 15mm spacings for the radiator. And then you take, screw with a washer, and with this you can install the radiator, the fan, and both of them into the case. You just simply take your screw, then your washer, it's 2 pieces, put in the washer inside, and then place it on top of the hole. Of course, you have to do this 8 times. And there's 8 long screws and 8 washers provided. I would suggest starting maybe with a corner. And then after that, you just have to align the hole that's protruding from the screw. I'll take a little bit of movement. Let me just see if I can pull it out from here. Actually, the cable is in the way. There we go. Pull it out from there. Once it sticks out, you just align any of those screws into the mounting holes here at the top. You can probably imagine how that will look like. And the other heatsink we have is the Corsair H90, which is a little bit easier since it only requires one 40mm area. You can either mount it at the rear in a push-pull config. Once again, you would need extra screws since the only, let me check what the kit is provided here. I believe it also has only the long screws and doesn't have any of the shorter ones. It does indeed only have that set, meaning it has to be mounted as an intake. You can also mount it at the top, which I would recommend, especially on an X79 system. You want to have ventilation on the critical VRM area when you're running overclocked. So we keep our fan there on top. The fan connector sticking out. Now I'm going to install the, let me grab my screws here and just place once again. Same thing, just mount it, make sure it protrudes at the bottom. And just align your case. Align your radiator rather. You can mount it in front as well, in front of the hardware cage if it can reach that area, if you have a mid-tower case. It is completely up to you, of course. All you need to be mindful of is that the screws provided are only the long ones, so you will be limited in your options by default. Alright, once you have mounted the radiator, as you can see here, we have the H90 right on top with the fan on top of it for intake. I'll just show you what it looks like. Right there. Of course, if it's going to be the H110, you'll have another fan here. Basically the same idea, although I would probably recommend positioning the hose on the other side if it's the H110, since if you have an optical drive it could be blocked by the SATA connector, these hoses I mean. So put my camera back here. tripod, and I'm going to show you the mounting mechanism. As you can see, it has, with the thermal paste removed, it is a very good surface for mounting. And if you are, you can actually just use the pre-applied thermal paste if you're concerned about that. But since we are going to be testing these, we have to use our regular Noctua thermal paste for testing. And let me just grab the mounting kit here. The Intel bracket we have assembled. You have the two-piece logs here on each corner, and then you position it onto the pump itself. You can see that it has that interlocking shape. Simply position it so that it locks in there, and some are actually, let me look for the area here where it locks into place. It should look somewhat see here. There are some areas here that it goes directly in. There you go. And then you take the locking mechanism. I'll position like that. You take the locking ring to completely lock it in place. Just basically push this in. You'll hear a snap. That means it's locked in place. Of course, you have to make sure that the bracket is aligned properly first. There we go. Looks fine. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There you go. Much easier compared to the old twist design. Of course, this is not the complete step. We are missing the thumb screws. So we have our LGA1366 here. It has the integrated locking mechanism. Doesn't require a separate backplate. So we find the set of thumb screws for that. It is the short, stubby ones. Let's see here. Of course, apply thermal paste first, but I'm just going to demonstrate how to mount it right now. Just imagine that I have thermal paste already in there, just to save time. Here you go. And just take one of the thumb screws, push it in each corner. It protrudes. There you go. And it will actually lock in place. 4 times. You can hear it snap again. There we go. Okay, I'm now going to install it into the heatsink, or rather the CPU area. Again, just pretend that I put the thermal paste. If you are going to do this and you remove thermal paste, apply your own. I'm just doing this just to demonstrate. Then lock each corner. Do it in an crisscross fashion. Do it about 20% each. Don't screw it all the way in, one side all the way in, because it will produce an uneven mounting pressure. So you want the pressure to be pretty much even while you're rotating these. There you go. Secure. And then, of course, you position the hose however you want it. You can see the Corsair logo there. So once move it upward or downward depending on your setup. You take the connector for the pump and find a header on your motherboard. Although you have to make sure that it is fed a full voltage. I'm going to plug this into my CPU connector. And one in the BIOS, I'm going to make sure that it is set to run without any smart fan settings on this particular header, so that the pump is running at full speed. You can also get a 3-pin to Molex adapter and attach it directly to your power supply. As of course, it completely depends on the user. And also we plug the fan. For the sake of testing, I'm also going to run this at full voltage. we can have apples to apples comparison. But if you want a quieter setup, you can always just control this with it's a PWM, so it responds very well to a something like this. It's an ASUS motherboard that has a very good fan control options. You can just plug it in. It is too far. The cable is too far with position, but I can just always plug it into a different header here at the rear. Now I have to find a different header for that. No problem. I am just gonna show you for demonstration here. So again, you can also plug it in as a full, get an adapter for that and plug it in as a full 12 volt speed, depending on the application type. Here you go. It's as easy as that. The H110 mounting is pretty much the same as well. They have the same mounting mechanism, and all the differences, of course, some cases are not compatible with the 280 millimeter radiator rather. So you have to be mindful of that issue. Now what we should do is, this is the end of this part of the review. Go back to the overview video and you can see the benchmark results there, where I compare the H110 and the H90 versus the H100 and H100i and also the NHD14, and see how well it performs. This is Ron signing out.